Today I've got a sweet video of Mehdi Hasan tearing Piers Morgan a new one on his hypocrisy, double standards, and it's just amazing to watch. Piers Morgan is considered quite a combative and quite hard questioning journalist, but Mehdi Hasan really takes him to task, and it's nice to see finally someone take Piers Morgan and show him for who he is, essentially. So let's get straight into the video.
Benjamin Netanyahu's terrorism against the children of Gaza.
I wouldn't categorise it as you do as terrorism, although I do think that they've committed some acts which I do think are acts of terrorists. You're not going to get me to say that what Israel's been doing is terrorism, because I believe they are defending
Why
their
not,
people.
though, is what I'm wondering. But you said 40 babies killed, some of them being beheaded. That's false.
Right.
None of them were beheaded.
Right, okay.
And
So-
you said it as fact.
Okay, but why are you defending Hamas?
That's your response. So when I say to you, for example, is Trump a racist? Yes or no?
I don't think he is. No.
So why does he say racist stuff?
I don't think he's a racist. I've known him.
No. Why does he say racist stuff?
I've
Why
known
does he
him-
say racist stuff, Piers?
Mehdi, I don't know.
This is my favourite quote. To those who warned this was what was going to happen with Trump, you've been proven right. It's a sobering moment. Yeah, I was right and you were wrong. But I don't see any humility from you today when it comes to Trump.
No.
Hello, many of you have seen me appear on Piers Morgan's show, Piers Uncensored, this year. I've watched me have some pretty lively debates on that show with him as a guest. Well, today I'm delighted to say that the tables have turned. Piers Morgan is joining me here as a guest on my show, Mehdi Unfiltered, here in New York City. Piers, welcome to the show.
Well, to be honest, you've dominated the interviews we do on my show so much people think that was on your show anyway.
Well, let's see if you can return the favour today. There is much to discuss. I want to talk about the two big issues that you've covered on your show this year that's made your show huge around the world. And it's two issues I talk about often when I come on your show, but I want to hear your views. So this is a great opportunity for us and for our audience. There is a question you have repeatedly asked all your Palestinian and pro-Palestinian guests, and you've had a lot of them, to be fair. People have praised you for that. But there's one question you ask almost all of them, to the point where it's become a bit of a joke, a bit of a meme. So let me start by asking you a version of that question. Do you condemn Benjamin Netanyahu's terrorism against the children of Gaza?
Well, I wouldn't categorise it as you do as terrorism, although I do think that they've committed some acts which I do think are acts of terrorists. For example, the aggressive, violent expansion on the settlements on the West Bank. I think you could inarguably say, well, that's a form of terrorism. My hesitation in using that categorisation for what Israel has done in Gaza is that, as I've said to Palestinian guests, I'm not sure how else people expected or how else the Israeli government should have responded to the terror attack of October the 7th, given the monumental scale of what happened that day. It seemed to me Hamas knew exactly what Israel would do, didn't care about its civilians, was hiding amongst them, had a tunnel system and thought, bring it on, let's have this out. So I've always felt that Israel not only had a right to defend itself, but had a moral duty to defend its people.
By killing Palestinian kids?
Well, listen, my brother served tours of Iraq and Afghanistan in the British Army, as did my brother-in-law. There are military all through my family. They've all taken part in conflicts where civilians, including children, have been killed. I think the particular problem in Gaza is that half the population are under 18, of 2 million, and that clearly a disgusting amount of children have been killed in this conflict. So my answer to your question, I wouldn't categorise it as terrorism to respond to a terror attack by going to kill the terrorists. However, has it got completely unacceptable, the level of civilian death that has been going on in Gaza, particularly children? I say yes, and this has to stop.
What is the acceptable level of death?
Well, I don't know. That's why I've always said from the start, what is proportionate? What do people expect people to do? I mean, for example, when America, after 9/11, went into Iraq, as you know, I waged a campaign
against
at the Daily Mirror newspaper against it. I thought it was an illegal...
But you haven't waged a campaign against this?
Well, because because the point about Iraq was they didn't perpetrate 9/11. Nothing to do with it. So it's
about the goal, not the conduct of the war. I'm asking you about the conduct.
Yeah,
right? I don't want to have an argument about the goals.
I understand.
I'm saying if you kill, for example, you saw the video, because I know you were on social media as much as I am, a video that the Washington Post verified of a little kid, 13 years old, is attacked by a drone, minding his own business. He's not Hamas. There's no Hamas hiding behind him. He's attacked. As he's bleeding out and people come to help him, they attack again. That's a double tap. It's what Al-Qaeda and ISIS do, double tap strike. How is that not an act of terror?
Well, because
2 kids are killed deliberately.
I've seen a lot of videos. Some of them are.
But that one specifically, is that an act of terror in your view?
It is in your eyes.
No, I'm asking your view.
Well, no, I haven't seen the one you're talking about. What I would say about it is that I want to see all of these things properly investigated and to establish whether there have been war crimes committed. And if there have been, absolutely hold the people who perpetrated it to account.
So you think Yahya Sinwar is a terrorist, right?
Yeah.
And there was an arrest warrant request for Yahya Sinwar from the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan, British lawyer. He's also put out an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. He's accused Netanyahu, well, he's asked for one. The court is being lobbied not to do it. He's put out an arrest. He's asked for an arrest warrant, and the indictments he's put out include, this is what he's accused Netanyahu of: starvation, murder, willful killing, extermination. How is Netanyahu not a terrorist, Piers?
Well, it may end up being that he is convicted of war crimes that suggest he's a terrorist.
But Sinwar wasn't convicted of.
Well, Sinwar.
I'm just being consistent. The ICC chief prosecutor put out warrant requests for both.
Here's the difference. Hamas made no secret of what they did on October the 7th. Sinwar directed and ordered that attack. No one
Nor is
disputes
Israel.
that. Yeah, but what the difference is that Hamas said, here are the GoPro cameras. We're going to show the world what we're doing here.
So has Israel. I just mentioned a video where a kid is killed on camera. Yeah. In fact, Israeli soldiers have put out TikToks of their war crimes, Piers.
You're not going to get me to say that what Israel's been doing is terrorism, because I believe they are defending
Why
their
not,
people.
though, is what I'm wondering. Because, seems to be just a stubborn resistance
because any country in the world that had October the 7th perpetrated against them would do what Israel has done.
No, they wouldn't.
Yes, they would.
They would have killed kids at this level.
No, if you had literally a country on your border.
Well, it's not a country on your border, it's occupied territory. I think you've conceded yourself in previous
I have actually said to you, I believe it is occupied territory.
Okay then, so it's not a country on your border.
Let's call it, what do you want to call it?
Occupied territory.
Okay, well, let's call it Gaza. Okay? That on one single day, in 13 different entry points, 3,000 people came through and committed as much mayhem and murder as they could possibly commit in a deliberate attempt to destabilize and take down Israel, which is the intention of their original charter. If that happened on any border, shared border in the world, there is no country in the world that would not have responded with military force in the way that Israel has done.
I don't agree with that. But let me say you're right.
Well,
every country would have done that. Doesn't make it not terrorism.
No, but then what you're saying is that any country that then goes after terrorists that perpetrate that kind of attack automatically themselves become terrorists.
No.
I dispute that categorization.
No, I'm saying that's a straw man.
Well,
I'm
give
saying
me an example where they're not terrorists.
That's not what he's saying at all. Killing innocent civilians, over 40,000 children, women, men. Again, he's got no argument. Again, double standards. He can't call Netanyahu a terrorist, even though he's committed a terrorist act, but he's willing to call Hamas terrorists, who obviously committed terrorist acts. Double standards.
I just gave you an example. They could have responded to Hamas without attacking a kid, killing the kid, and when people come to rescue him, attacking them as well. I can be here all day. We don't have the time.
So
I can go through. They didn't need to attack an apartment building.
When American
We're
forces,
not doing whataboutism. We're not doing whataboutism.
When they went after ISIS,
Yeah.
but they killed a lot of innocent
Yes,
children in the process.
I think those were acts of war crimes. I think war crimes are acts of terror. Yes.
So if you go after,
I don't think.
So if you go after any terror group in the world.
No, I'm saying if you hold on, Piers. The definition of terrorism, according to every dictionary, is the use of political violence against civilians for political goals. That is what Netanyahu is doing. He said it openly. Israelis have said it on your show.
Well, he's responding to a terrorist attack
by doing more terrorism. He's
defend,
killed 33 times as many people as Yahya Sinwar.
Let me be clear.
But Sinwar's a terrorist, not Netanyahu.
Netanyahu should absolutely no longer be Prime Minister of Israel.
Should he be at the ICC?
Probably, yeah.
So if the warrant comes down, you support the UK arresting him if he comes to the UK?
I absolutely think that his alleged war crimes, and I use that because they've not been substantiated, his alleged war crimes should absolutely be investigated.
This doesn't make any sense. I agree with you. No. I agree with you that they haven't been substantiated, but I'm being consistent. I'm saying everyone, Hamas, Israel, should be substantiated in investigation. You're saying one side's terrorists based on GoPro, but the other side's not terrorists, even though we've watched them kill thousands of people on camera. Literally, I've seen it. I saw them gun down an old lady holding a white flag.
Hamas have made no secret that what they did was terrorism.
Nor of Israel. Have you listened to Israeli soldiers? You should watch our documentary. It's called Israel's Real Extremism. It shows Israeli soldiers talking proudly about what they've done in Gaza. It's not just a T word, Piers, that you've been reluctant to use in relation to Israel, but also the G word. Genocide.
It's not genocide.
Why are you, so let's talk about that. Why are you perfectly happy to call what Russia is doing in Ukraine a genocide, but not what Israel's doing in Gaza when there are fewer civilians, far fewer kids killed in Ukraine than in Gaza, arguably way less genocidal rhetoric from the Russian government than we hear from the Israeli government? Why are you so uncensored on Russia but not on Israel? What are you afraid of?
I actually thought when you first jumped me with that, it was a good point. I hadn't realised I'd used the word genocide in relation to what was going on in Russia. And I did go away and think about that quite carefully. Because you've got to be careful about the word genocide. The word genocide is where you deliberately exterminate a group of people based on ethnicity. And the reality about, let's take Gaza first of all. If Israel actually wanted to get rid of everyone in Gaza, they have the military power to do that. They have nuclear weapons. They could just nuke Gaza, as some of them, I suspect, would quite like to do. They've got some massively right-wing headbangers in that government, Ben-Gvir, Smodrich and others, who I suspect wouldn't hesitate to wage a form of genocide. So I accept that completely. But the reality is that there are 2 million people in Gaza, of which, depending which estimate you want to believe, but the official records from the Hamas-run health authority, there are about 45,000 people have died, of which it is estimated that around 15 to 20,000 are Hamas, and the rest are civilians.
That's
they're
estimated by Israel, but okay.
Okay, but there are different figures put up. But let's assume it's in that ballpark. Okay.
No.
Well, okay, but it
you could say that.
Here's my point. It's not 2 million people, which Israel.
But that's not the definition of genocide.
Oh, so all the Jews weren't killed in Europe in World War II, so it wasn't a genocide. This is not how genocide is defined.
Well, isn't it?
No. The Genocide Convention doesn't say you have to kill everyone. By the way, you said this to Bassem Youssef, our good friend last week on the show. You said, well, I want to read you exactly what you said. Israel hasn't nuked Gaza, quote, they could have done. They haven't done that. If you're really genocidal, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
But Russia has the ability to nuke Ukraine too. Russia has the biggest stockpile of nuclear warheads in the world. So why hasn't Russia? So Russia's not doing a genocide?
No, I don't think they are, and I shouldn't have said that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in order to defend Israel, you're withdrawing your allegation.
Yeah, that's so convenient that he will withdraw the accusation of genocide from Russia. I mean, that's the only reason he's doing it, because he can't be critical of Israel, really. Like, he is on the margins a little bit, but he's not. He doesn't care.
Yes. Against Russia.
Yeah, because you made me think about it. I didn't remember that I'd used that word in relation to.
But it's not just Russia.
No, because
you've said it about many people.
Well, okay, so
you said Bashar al-Assad in 2012, 1 year into the civil war in Syria, when the death toll was much lower than Gaza. You said it was a genocide. You said the Rohingya in Burma.
Well, that's interesting.
Hold on. You said Rohingya in Burma.
Answer.
I'm finished my question. Then you answer. Okay. You said the Rohingya in 2017, far less death toll in Burma, is a genocide. So I look at Piers Morgan and I say, here's this uncensored person, very bold, outspoken, opinionated man. He says Syria's a genocide. Burma's a genocide. Ukraine's a genocide. Israel? No, it's not a genocide. Yeah. And now today, actually, I'm going to withdraw the charge of genocide of Ukraine. That's how much I don't want to accuse Israel of genocide.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It feels like you're afraid.
No, the other examples I would give, I would say absolutely there was genocidal intent. You did make me think about what was happening in Russia and Ukraine. And the reality is, as people know in that area, it is complicated because a lot of the people in the Donbass, for example, speak Russian, right? And some of them, a percentage of them, do identify as Russian and would quite like to go back to being Russian. So I think to use the word genocide about what Russia is doing there is the wrong term. And I shouldn't have used it.
So
I wasn't aware
are you withdrawing it on Syria and Burma as well?
No, because I think they are definitely a genocidal intent. They're genocidal intent. What you want people to believe is that what Israel is doing, without any reference to October the 7th, they want to basically kill
Bashar al-Assad would say exactly what Netanyahu says. He says, I'm fighting terrorists. They're hiding amongst civilians in Homs.
Let me ask you.
Assad uses the same...
Let me throw it back at you.
No. To quote you, this is my show. I've got limited time. I'm asking you questions. Bashar al-Assad would say exactly what Netanyahu says. He says, I'm fighting terror. I don't believe him, and you don't believe him. We don't like Bashar al-Assad. We agree on Assad.
Yes.
But he would say exactly what Netanyahu says. I'm fighting terrorists who are hiding amongst civilians in Homs, and I'm bombing them. I'm fighting a war of self-defense. You say genocidal. I say, yeah, maybe genocidal. Israel says Amalek. They say total annihilation. They say we're going to destroy Gaza. We're going to level it, etc. You say not genocidal. I just don't get it.
I don't think it is genocide, no.
Even though the facts say otherwise. Holocaust historians like Omar Bartov and Amos Goldberg, Ariel Naya, some of the experts on Holocaust say it is a genocide.
Yeah, but a lot of experts say it's not a genocide.
That's not actually some of the leading Holocaust experts are lining up in one direction.
You've got your experts. I've seen many other experts who say it's not genocide. So you can, look.
I just find it fascinating that you'll call every other conflict which has fewer deaths than Gaza genocide.
Ask him to name one then. Who?
But for some reason,
you're very deaths in Syria.
There were in February 2012, I checked. Huh? You said it was a genocide in February 2012. See, I do my homework. I checked. 7,500 people in Syria being killed at that point. You said genocide. 45,000 people in Gaza. You say not genocide.
Well, it comes down to what you think the intent is of the people perpetrating.
You don't think they're trying to erase northern Gaza right now?
I think what they're doing.
Are you seeing what's happening in northern Gaza?
Here's what I think they're doing. I think Israel genuinely believe what they're trying to do is eliminate Hamas, who they perceive to be a terrorist
I think you're
organisation.
speaking on behalf of Israelis who aren't saying
Well,
that. They're making it very clear it's not just about Hamas. They're seizing territory in Gaza. They're planning to, some of them are planning to resettle in Gaza, and right now, northern Gaza, according to the UN humanitarian chief, everyone is at risk of dying, Piers. Everyone. That's the words of the UN humanitarian chief.
Don't misunderstand me. I think what's happening in Gaza is horrific.
You just won't say genocide?
No. You asked me if it's genocide. I don't think it is. And you asked me if it's terrorism. I don't think it is. Do I think it's got unacceptable, the level of civilian death? Absolutely.
But you do think unacceptable
hang on.
the ICC?
Do I think that they have no plan for the end of this? Absolutely. Do I think Netanyahu and the headbangers and his cabinet should go? Absolutely. Do I think Hamas should have any authority going forward? No. So there are lots of ways that we can try and
I know,
find
but
common
ultimately
ground
history will judge where you were on this, and they'll say you were right on Iraq and you didn't really come on board on
and
Gaza.
I don't think they'll find that you were right about calling it terrorism or genocide.
Okay.
We'll see.
I hope you're right. Obviously, I don't want it to be a genocide, but it looks like one, sounds like one, walks like one. Just on last, I do want to talk about Donald Trump with you, but just on this topic, October 7th was bad enough. I think we can both agree. The kidnapping and killing of civilians, war crimes, without anyone having to exaggerate how bad it was. And yet, given the way a genocidal Israeli government, in my view, not yours, has used atrocity propaganda to try and justify the mass killing of Palestinians, especially Palestinian children. And the October the 7th, some would argue, even got as a Palestinian-American child killed in Illinois. There's an argument that that guy was infuriated by talk of beheaded babies, etc. Do you regret, Piers, a year later, having used your very big platforms, YouTube, Twitter, to spread that atrocity propaganda, to repeat the Israeli line uncritically, saying, and I quote, 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded?
Well, I never said, as people have tried to claim, that 40 babies got beheaded. Right? We do know that some babies were killed.
One.
We do know a baby was kidnapped. Well, I mean, what I find fascinating about this, when people start going on their Hamas defense.
That's not a Hamas
journey.
defense. We're journalists. We believe in facts. Right?
I know you did. But I also had Bassem Youssef on last week saying there was no sexual abuse of.
Bassem Youssef can speak for himself. I'm asking you about 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded. Do you regret saying that as a journalist? You correct things when you're wrong.
As you know, well, I've already said this on my show. So had you done your research in the capable way you say you do, you would know that I've already said, yeah, it turned out that 40 babies were not killed.
That's weird because I've just checked this morning and all your tweets are still up saying that 40 babies were killed. So if you've corrected it.
I've said it on my show.
But your tweet, you have how many million followers do you have? I know you love talking about your followers.
A lot more than you.
Yeah, how many?
I think it's 8.8 million.
So 8.8 million people could still see multiple
But they
examples.
can watch my show.
Which show?
My Piers Morgan Uncensored.
But multiple shows. So you say you got it wrong and you apologise for getting it wrong.
Have
you apologised?
Let me be clear.
I'm just trying to get to the
Let
facts.
me be clear.
Okay.
Let me answer. Right? There was a report that said 40 babies had been beheaded.
Yeah.
People believed it in the moment. It turned out not to be true. I never actually said 40 babies had been beheaded, contrary to the avalanche of people who on a daily...
You passed it off as fact, Piers. Come on.
I didn't.
October 10th, talking to Joan Collins. This new revelation of 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded. How can any human being do that to a baby?
Right.
There's nothing in there that expresses any doubt.
Right, I didn't say 40 babies got beheaded.
You said 40 babies killed, some of them being beheaded. That's false.
Right.
None of them were beheaded.
Right, okay.
And you said it as fact.
Okay, but why are you defending Hamas?
That's your response. I'm not defending Hamas.
He's not. He's not. How is that asking a question about a lie about Israel defending Hamas? He's got no arguments. When he's held to the fire, can't call genocide, can't call terrorism, and can't acknowledge and apologise for spreading misinformation.
I just started with Hamas did war
Were any
crimes
babies
on
killed?
October the 7th. Horrific, and they should all go to prison.
Were any babies killed?
Yes, children were killed. Yes.
Right, were any kidnapped?
But I'm wondering why you pushed an Israeli propaganda line.
Were any kidnapped?
Yes.
Okay.
Horrific, and I've condemned it, Piers.
Were any people beheaded?
I've condemned
Were any
it.
people
I
beheaded?
believe a Thai worker and maybe a soldier were, according
People
to a
were
video.
beheaded.
Yeah.
Okay, so babies were killed, babies were kidnapped, people were beheaded, right? And your position is you want to sit here and split hairs about.
Well, people
how many...
died as a result of this, Piers. A kid was killed in Illinois by guys.
Split hairs about truth.
Believe this stuff.
1,200 people got killed.
But you and I are not responsible for that, right? You and I are not responsible.
And nearly 7,000 got wounded.
You and I are not responsible for that.
You want to sit here and try and defend Hamas.
When did I defend Hamas?
You are.
When?
You're trying to downplay and
I literally
diminish what they did.
started.
Downplay. He's the one trying to downplay, literally doing mental gymnastics to say, oh yeah, genocide in Ukraine, but not anymore because Israel's doing a genocide.
Started by saying, don't we both agree the kidnapping and killing of civilians are war crimes?
Right.
So how do I defend Hamas?
But
That's a lie. You just lied.
Yeah, but are you suggesting that
I'm suggesting that as a journalist, you pushed something that was false. You should have corrected it and apologised for it.
Right. What did I push that was false?
Let me read a line. The new revelation of 40 babies being killed, some of them being beheaded.
Right.
40 babies were not killed, no babies were beheaded.
I never said 40 babies were beheaded.
But you said murdered. 40 babies were murdered. They weren't.
Right.
40 babies were not murdered.
It now turns out that not that many babies were murdered. No. Okay. In the fog of war, it turned out that
and
was
I just asked, my question was, do you regret saying that?
Well,
that was my question.
Instead
you said you were defending Hamas.
Okay, so Hamas didn't kill quite as many babies.
No, the Israeli government exaggerated what happened to justify their actual beheading of children in Gaza.
Actually, I think that when 8,200 people were either killed or wounded, it was very difficult for them to establish the truth for quite a few weeks. Okay. We now have a much clearer idea of what happened.
Do you believe the US and UK media are biased in favour of Israel?
Parts of them, yeah.
Why?
Why do I believe it?
No, why are they biased in favour of Israel?
I don't know. I have to ask them. I
mean, you've worked in it for decades. You've worked everywhere. News of the world. I'm asking you. You are one of the most famous people in the British media.
What do you want me to say?
Why is the British media biased in favour of Israel?
What do you think I am?
I didn't ask that question.
What do you think I am?
I think you are, yes.
Why would I have so many Palestinian guests on?
You tell me.
If I genuinely am biased and don't want to have their say being given.
It doesn't mean you're not biased just because you have Palestinian guests. Of course he's biased. He won't even admit that what they're doing is terrorism, killing over 10,000 children. I mean, how is that not terrorism? How is that not genocide? He is biased.
I have this very black and white view of the world, Piers.
Why would I have you on?
You can be biased towards Israel.
You're one of the most partisan guests I've ever had on my show. That doesn't make it, Piers,
am I pro-Palestinian? Am I pro-Palestinian?
Of course.
So why do I have you on then? This is a ridiculous argument. Just because you have guests on from the other side doesn't mean
actually
that you
does.
don't. No, it doesn't, because then I'm not pro-Palestinian according to your logic.
No, of course you're pro-Palestinian.
All right. Am I pro-Trump? Am I pro-Trump? Because I've got you on today.
If you're trying to categorise me,
it's a very strange argument.
If you're trying to categorise me as pro-Israeli over Palestinian, I dispute that categorisation.
I'm sure you will dispute it, but I didn't actually ask about you. But we went down that road. The British and American media are biased in favour of Israel. I'm just wondering why you think it is.
Can't answer for other media.
Do you think it's fear?
Possibly.
Do you think it's racism? What do you think it is?
I don't know. Ask them.
I'm asking you.
How do I know?
You're not there. You are there.
I don't know what their motivation is. How would I know?
All right, let's talk about
He knows, he just can't answer that.
Yeah, you're so uncensored until you get to Israel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the answer. What do you want me to say?
Let's talk about the other big story right now that you have strong views on, the US election next week.
Yeah.
You think Trump will win, I know.
I do.
You're a big supporter of his, a friend of Donald Trump's. Here's what I don't understand.
Hang on. You say this a lot. Don't categorise me thinking he's going to win with my...
No. I'm categorising your support based on what you say.
I've never told anyone to vote for Trump.
But
I can't vote for Trump.
You always defend him. We just came from a recording of your show. You spent 1 hour defending him.
I don't know. You were unrelentingly attacking him as usual. Using phrases like his rally here was akin to the Nazis, and I think that's ridiculous. And I took you on about it. That doesn't mean I support him. It means I think that when people like you say, "Who's the new Hitler?"
If I had my phone, which I don't, I would just open it and show you all your New York Post columns, which are all anti-Harris and pro-Trump. But anyway,
I think she's useless.
Let me ask you this: how could it be okay for Trump to be allowed to be president again when Trump is clearly mad? He's nuts. He's deranged, he's mentally unstable, he's attacked American democracy. You don't disagree with any of that, do you?
I've said many of those things about him in the past.
Yeah. So then how can you say that he should be president again?
Because I think in politics, people like Trump have had periods in their career where they've been doing ridiculous things, which I've heavily criticised before, but they've also done other things which in the totality of how you judge them actually have made them electable. Trump is going to win, in my estimation, because for all your shrieking about how despicable he is, what a Nazi
you
is.
said he was despicable.
I said many bad things about him.
Exactly, so why are you picking on me?
But I've also said, unlike you, I've said positive things about him as well.
But that just makes you look silly, not me.
Why? Why can't it be? It makes me look balanced.
Well, hold on.
Hang on, it makes me look balanced.
No, it doesn't. Because
it does.
I want to read
it makes you unbalanced.
Well, for our viewers who might not, they might just see your pro-Trump stuff. Let's just say some of the stuff you've said. I went back and read your Daily Mail column the day after January 6th.
Yeah.
You went way beyond anything I've said about Trump. You said he's morphed into a monster. Yeah. There's no way back for him. Yeah. Deranged figurehead. Yeah. Lost his mind. I'm done with Donald Trump. That part clearly wasn't true. Such a person should not be president of the United States for a second longer. That person was true. Why are you suddenly now back? He's actually worse today than he was on Saturday.
I don't agree with that, but I was also done with the manager of Arsenal. And then I turned around and after time he won me round again.
So that's the thing. Piers Morgan doesn't believe in anything. He is just getting the clicks. He is part of the establishment. He is part of the media establishment. He's part of the elite. He holds up power. Again, that's why he supports Israel. And again, doesn't believe anything. Again, supports Trump. He's just in it for the money. He's just in it for the clicks. He has no values or beliefs.
It's all a game.
It's not a game, but I think.
I mean, you said very strongly he's deranged.
Yes, and by the way,
a monster.
And by the way,
we should use the 25th Amendment.
Had you watched my interview with Donald Trump when I launched Piers Morgan Uncensored, you will know that somebody sent him all of this, Nigel Farage, before the interview, and he read it all for himself, and we had a good old ding dong about it, right? There are lots of.
That doesn't make it any less weird that you're sitting here saying.
I think what happened on January 6th was terrible.
So why does he get to be president? Why does that not disqualify him from the job?
Exactly.
Because you said it on January 7th. You said it disqualified him.
I agree.
So what changed?
I've changed my mind.
Why? Is it because he's closer to power now?
No, it's because I think the American.
Some people would say Piers Morgan's changed his mind just because Trump's about to win.
No, I changed my mind about lots of things and lots of people.
Genocide, Trump.
I'm quite, as you may have gathered, I'm quite an emotive person. I've actually tried not
I feel like it's more that there are certain issues you won't touch. Israel, Trump. You're very careful.
But I've been very critical of Trump, as you just read.
Not now, though.
Sometimes.
I just don't understand how you can
Depends
say.
what he does and says.
Well, nothing's changed since January 7th. He's the same guy who did an insurrection. He'll probably do an insurrection again.
Look, you hate him and everything.
You hate him.
No,
you hate him. You said Trump's gone mad. I'm done with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And this is what you said on January 11th. This is my favourite quote.
I don't know what you think the gotcha is, because I've talked about this a lot.
The gotcha is that you're not consistent. But listen to me.
Why? I've changed my mind.
This is my favourite quote. To those who warned this was what was going to happen with Trump, you've been proven right. It's a sobering moment. Yeah, I was right and you were wrong. But I don't see any humility from you today when it comes to Trump.
No.
Even though you were wrong in 2020.
No, because even when Trump does good things, you never acknowledge it.
What did he do good since 2021?
What about killing the leader of ISIS?
He didn't do, I said since 2021. We're talking about, you said you were done with him on 2021. What's he done good to win you back?
Well, it's not about winning me back.
Yeah, you did. You said I'm done with Donald Trump. I'm wondering why you're not.
It's not about winning me back.
It is, Piers. This view is about you.
My view of Trump has evolved a lot.
Why? That's why I'm asking why.
Because I know him personally. I like him personally. Some of the things he does, I think, are very effective. Some of the things he does, I think, are completely wrong. I'm quite.
You give this guy a weird benefit of the doubt.
I've always been quite an emotive columnist. I will call things in the moment, and then after time. Things change. Everyone thought Trump was done. It turned out he made a miraculous comeback, right? I actually quite like comeback stories. Your categorization, he's worse now than he was. I don't agree with that.
I think most people would look at him and say he's more mentally unstable. Well, hold on. You called it.
Most people agree with you. He wouldn't be favourite to win the election.
Let's do facts, Piers. You called him mentally unstable in January 2021. Point to me what he's done since then makes him more mentally stable. I think anyone who looks at him would say he's definitely less stable than he was.
I think that in that period after losing, he did go a bit nuts.
And he's not nuts anymore?
I don't think. I watched him last night at the rally. I didn't think he was nuts.
We're sitting here in New York. If you went on the subway outside, if you went on the London Underground back home, and some old guy came and sat next to you ranting and raving about being the chosen one, the king of Israel, a stable genius, ranting and raving about shark attacks and Hannibal Lecter and Arnold Palmer's penis for 15 long minutes, the water pressure in his toilet and showers, you would get up and you would move to another seat. You would not say that man should have the nuclear codes. You know it, I know, everyone watching this knows it.
If you sat next to me on the subway ranting away like you normally do, I think you were nuts too, but I still talk to you.
But you wouldn't give me the nuclear codes?
No, I wouldn't.
No, but you give it to Trump even though he talks about... Look, you spent half an hour in July badgering me over the Democrats supposedly calling Trump Hitler, even though it was J.D. Vance who said that. How do you feel about the recent revelations from General John Kelly, Trump's chief of staff, Marine general, a Republican, not a Democrat, who said Trump praised Hitler, said he'd like to have had Hitler's generals. His former top general, Mark Milley, said he's a fascist to the core. Doesn't that bother you? You are the grandson of a British World War II hero. You have Trump praising Hitler, quoting from Mein Kampf. That doesn't bother you?
Look, he's not the new Hitler.
That's not what I asked.
Hang on, he's not running a
question.
That's not a straw man.
Generals are entitled to their view, but they're not always right. I mean,
so they're lying, are they?
I don't think Trump's a fascist. Sorry.
Are they lying?
I know you do.
Are they lying? When he says he praised Hitler, are they lying?
I think they're wrong.
No,
he's a fascist.
No, look at the evasion. You make a great politician, Piers.
I wasn't in the room.
So General John Kelly's lying?
Hang on. Other people who were in the room dispute that that's what Trump said.
So multiple people over the years have talked about Trump's quotes. They're all lying. All the officials who've all turned on him. Hold on, I just want to go through the list. Mark Milley, Mark Esper, John Kelly, Jim Mattis. They're all lying.
I don't know. Nor do you.
I think Occam's razor says if everyone who worked with him, almost everyone said we can't endorse him again, then we should take their word for it. The people who know him best know him better than you.
The bottom line is, do I think he's well, they don't know, probably don't know him better than me, actually.
But they worked with him, they do.
Do I think Donald Trump is a fascist? No, I don't. Do I think he's a neo-Nazi running a bunch of neo-Nazis? No, I don't.
So when he says,
and I think
it's not just me.
By the way, I think that view is nuts.
Really? So Robert Paxton,
I think
America's
you're nuts for thinking he's a new Nazi.
Robert Paxton is America's preeminent scholar of fascism, historian at Columbia University Emeritus. He said, I don't think Trump's a fascist. For 4 years, people exaggerating stuff. Now he says, yeah, actually,
I think
he is a fascist. And
honestly,
by the way, you know why? Because you love to talk in the air, Piers. Facts. This is what he's saying and doing. He says, I'll terminate the Constitution. I'll be a dictator.
Why didn't he in the first 4 years?
Because you had Jim Mattis and John Kelly who won't be there.
Oh, I see.
He said, I'll terminate the Constitution, and he didn't have Supreme Court immunity, which he has now. He says, you won't have to vote for me if you vote in 4 years. I'll put the National Guard, he said to Maria Bartiromo the other day, against the enemy within, against Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff. You're not supportive of that, right? You don't support the National Guard being
Not
used.
as that's who he was talking about.
He said the enemy within.
But if he was talking about using the military to break up rioting, I think most Americans would say, well, yeah, he's got a point.
It's funny because he's the one who did the rioting last time when you said you were done with him.
But what did you, out of interest, the Black Lives Matter rioting, what was your view of that?
The vast majority of black protesters were peaceful. 94%.
What about the rioting?
The rioting, they were arrested. In fact, they were prosecuted in many ways much worse than the January 6th votes.
Out of interest, what is the difference about using, say, police or military for breaking up rioting?
Huge difference. You don't
We've
think,
used
you don't
military,
think an American president using the military against...
We have used military in the UK.
He wanted to use military against peaceful protesters.
We've used military to break up
Do you
rioting.
support shooting protesters in the legs? That's what that's what Donald Trump asked Mark Esper.
My question for you is...
Hold on, Piers. No, you don't get to ask me questions. Remember, I just came from your show.
What is the big problem?
You're going to answer my question.
What is the problem between using armed police and military to break up rioting? Out of interest, I'm curious.
I'm going to answer your question with the question I asked him and ask it again. When Donald Trump says to Mark Esper, shoot them in the legs, do you support that behaviour? Because you say he's not a fascist. When he's saying shoot them in the legs.
I don't think anyone should be shot in the legs unless they're terrorists.
But Trump said that to Mark Esper. Right. Oh, Esper's lying, right?
I don't know.
Oh, what a great journalist you are. When it comes to Trump, all your faculties
Say
disappear.
something nice about Trump.
You first.
Go on.
What do you want to say nice about Trump?
Say something positive about Trump. One thing he's ever done was good.
Why would I say that?
Because you can't.
I can say it.
You can't.
I have said it.
You can't.
But I'm not going to play this game where a fascist, I need to contextualize the fascism. Hitler made the trains run on time. No, I'm not going to play this
Literally, in my
game.
show earlier, you said that what happened at the Madison Square Garden last night, which I was there for the 6 hours, first rally I've attended. You said it was literally like a Nazi-style rally.
Do you not think...
When you say something like that, Mehdi, I've got a lot of respect for you. I think you're a great broadcaster. I think it's such horseshit.
So I have a lot of...
Where you're disingenuous. You know it is.
No, you do. That's why
there's argument.
So Piers,
you know
I didn't say they were neo-Nazis.
Murdered 12 million people.
Nice try.
You know that he's not Adolf Hitler, but you're quite happy for this Nazi bullshit.
Nice try.
And when Kamala Harris loses,
keep going.
it will be because the left have over-demonized him.
So,
as they always do.
By the way, it wasn't me who called him a monster. That was you.
Demonized him.
You demonized him.
He behaved in a monstrous manner.
And now you're fine with him. Yeah. He didn't apologise, didn't regret, hasn't changed his behaviour, but Piers is fine with him now.
I changed my view occasionally.
Why? Based on what, though?
You should try it.
The viewers are waiting. Based on what? What did Trump do to win you back?
I think Trump.
What less fascistic thing did he do?
I think Trump, in his quite brutal style, can be very effective.
That's not an answer to my question. What did he do since January 2021 for Piers to wake up and say he should be president again?
Stop shouting. Let me give you an example. I think, for example, one of the more disingenuous things that people have attacked Trump about was him saying that he wanted to get rid of NATO. In fact, if you read exactly what he said about NATO, what Trump wanted to do was to make countries pay their due.
Great.
To what?
Hang on. No. This is my show and I didn't ask about NATO. I don't care about NATO.
You asked me to say one good thing he's done.
No, I didn't. You asked me. I just said it flippantly back to you.
Can I finish the point?
I definitely didn't ask you to come say nice things about Trump. Not about NATO. Not about NATO.
Oh, okay.
Time is done.
Him getting NATO countries to pay their due is a very successful and effective campaign.
You know he's going to roll over for Putin. By the way, we don't have time to get into it. I find it astonishing. Someone as anti-Putin as you is totally fine with Trump.
He will not roll over to Putin. Why don't you see what he does?
So you said you went to the rally yesterday.
Yes.
They said Puerto Rico is a garbage island.
Yeah.
Black
the comedian
people
made a series of stupid, dumb jokes.
Trump's childhood friend said Kamala is the Antichrist and the devil. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't.
Immigrants being brought in as a Democratic plan to replace American voters. This is a kind of neo-Nazi great replacement rhetoric we heard. Immigrants are invading and occupying the UK. Invasion is what Nick Griffin, for the British people watching, you and I know who Nick Griffin is, far-right neo-Nazi language of invasion. That's what Trump used. So when I make these allegations, I have evidence and facts to back them up.
True.
You avoid the facts. So when I say to you, for example, is Trump a racist? Yes or no?
I don't think he is. No.
So why does he say racist stuff?
I don't think he's a racist.
No. Why does he say racist stuff? Why does he say racist stuff, Piers?
Mehdi, I don't know.
But he does say racist stuff. Can we agree on that? No, it's a simple question.
It's a genuine form of
All right, let's go through it then. Facts. He said four women of colour in Congress. They should go back to where they came from. Was that racist?
I'm not going to do this with you.
Why?
Because I don't
I
think
give
he's
you
a racist.
evidence. I didn't ask if he's a racist. I
I've
said,
known
is the
Trump
statement
20
racist?
years. If he's a racist.
Now,
you literally just asked
and
me.
you've dodged it, so now I'm asking specific
I'm not
follow-up.
going to go over everything
Piers,
he's
you
ever
and I are
said.
sitting in America.
Yeah,
We're from the
of course
UK.
you're
I'm
not.
allowed a follow-up
He's
question.
so racist that more black and Latino people are going to vote
That's
for
a
him now
straw
than ever
man.
before. It's not.
It's not
I
dealing with
don't think
evidence.
he's
That's not
racist.
how racism is defined by
I don't
opinion
think
poll.
he's racist.
Was it-
Sorry.
okay, so I'm rephrasing the question. It's called a follow-up. You know this. You've been at an interview longer than me. When he told four women of colour to go back to where they came from, was that racist in your view?
I can't remember the quote.
He told Ilhan Omar, AOC,
Okay.
Ayanna Pressley to go back on
Convenient.
Twitter. It was very famous.
Okay.
It was a huge.
If that's what he
Republican
said,
scandal.
then that would seem to me to be racially insensitive. Yes.
But not racist.
Oh my god.
I don't think he's a racist.
Downplaying
That's not what I asked.
racism of Donald Trump.
Well, you did ask me that.
But now I'm asking, is it racist to tell four women of colour to go back to their
I
countries?
did look. Here's
It's
my-
a very
He
simple.
just can't answer it. He knows Donald Trump's racist. He defends him. He has no values. All he has is money, clicks, and sucking Donald Trump off.
question. You don't want to answer because you know it's racist, Piers.
No, I think he has said racially insensitive comments.
That's a cop out.
But I don't think he's a racist.
Uncensored Piers Morgan can't say the R word.
I don't think
last
he's a
question,
racist.
can't,
last
no.
question on this.
But I'm sure he can
Do
say
you
it
hold
above
the
people.
Democrats and Kamala Harris to a double standard? If she had stood up at a rally and spoke about a woman's tennis player's vagina for 15 minutes, you'd have been all over
Yeah,
it, attacking
he
her,
would.
mocking her.
Yes, he would.
Did you care
You weren't genuinely upset
That's not
about
what I asked. I asked
the
about
Arnold
you.
Palmer comment was
I asked
funny.
about you.
It was funny.
And would Kamala Harris have gotten away with it?
You know my trouble.
Would Kamala Harris? You don't.
You know my trouble.
Piers, you need to answer the questions.
You know my trouble with people on the left.
You can.
By the way,
You can filibuster all you want.
He can't answer the question.
Just ask the question
I still
at the end.
categorise myself as a liberal, by the way. But the problem with you lefties is you actually refuse to have a sense of humour. You've got one.
Would you?
I reckon when you
No, that's a straw man as well. The fact that, oh, it's a joke, when obviously it's not a joke. But when the left make a joke, oh, the pearl clutching then, they can't have a sense of humour. So the idea that he's got a sense of humour, the right have got a sense of humour, no, they get offended by everything.
You watch him say things like the Arnold Palmer thing when you're on your own.
Oh.
You watch it and laugh. But what you can't be seen doing
That's
out
not what
there
I asked,
is
though.
actually laugh.
But I didn't ask if it's funny.
It's funny.
I didn't ask if it's funny. I
Who
said,
cares?
would you have let Kamala Harris make comments about a
No.
female tennis player's vagina? You'd have said she should withdraw from the race. Biden's got dementia.
No,
but with
I
Trump,
actually
you give
think-
a pass.
No, I would have thought a lot more of her. I'd have thought, my God, the woman's got a sense of humour.
You once asked Donald Trump when he was president to give you a job, bizarrely to make you his chief of staff. He has since pretty humiliatingly attacked you as fake news. His spokesman called you a failed television host. If he wins next week, will you be asking him for a job again?
No. I've got a very good job, thank you.
Okay, so no more jobs with Trump. GQ magazine just did a big profile piece on you and on how successful you've been on YouTube. You've done a lot of high-profile media jobs: editor of the Mirror, editor of News of the World, host on CNN, host on Good Morning Britain. Haven't all ended well for you. How does hosting Piers Uncensored?
They have all ended well for me.
Okay, I mean,
In other words, I ended up doing something better.
oh, that's true. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat then, I would argue.
Exactly.
How does hosting Piers Uncensored right now on YouTube compare to all those previous jobs in the US and the UK?
Well, what I like about it is I actually like having almost a ringmaster role, because I think there's so much polarization now going on, both left and right, that there are very few places to go where you can have genuinely good-spirited debate. We just had one actually earlier with you and Sarah Palin and Dave Smith and Destiny. I really enjoyed it. I like that. I think it's different to anything I've done before. I like being at the centre of people who are very smart, and that's my criteria. You've got to be smart, come on, and debate
Sarah
stuff.
Palin?
Yeah, in her way, she's smart. Okay. She's not your idea of intelligent, perhaps, but the reason she got to be vice president was she's
She wasn't vice president, Piers, she lost.
Well, sorry.
I take your point. Candidate.
Running mate. I think that I like being at the sort of fulcrum of having people with very strong views on both sides and doing exactly what you've been doing with me, quite adeptly, as you're a very good interviewer, but going after people on both sides and trying to, if we can, reach points of some agreement, because actually that's what
Both sides?
used to happen in democratic societies, and we've lost that. I really do think that one of the great tragedies of modern day is that people can't have, as you and I, we have regular, pretty full-on debates, don't we? Right, and we go after each other, but at the end of it, we shake hands, we smile, we move on. I think it's good, and I think that, like I said, the interesting thing for me, on that first time you came on, and you took me on about the apparent double standard, and I got your point about...
Apparent. No, it was a double standard.
Russia and Ukraine and Israel, Gaza, it made me go away and think. And I'm not afraid to then say, I thought about that, and actually you were right. There's a double standard there, so what do I really think? I think that is part of democracy. I think that's part of actually evolving as a human being and not being afraid to change your mind when people present you with a fact which should change your mind. And that closure of minds to that kind of thing, I think, is ruinous for society.
You're an Arsenal fan. I'm a Liverpool fan. Should we call this a score draw?
2-2.
Fine. Thank you for coming on Mehdi Uncensored.
It was good fun.
You just said Mehdi Uncensored.
Oh, shit!
Oh my god. We need more of that. We need more Mehdi Hasans and less Piers Morgans. Hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video.